To take up for a politician here, and I have to say straight, I don't think the Finnish Prime Minister has done anything wrong, and I'll be totally honest with you. I know some people say it's an awful thing that she did, but not necessarily. Look at in England at the moment. Look at the awful thing that the British politicians done over in England. Look at Ireland. Look at Golfgate, for example. Just a perfect example. A Supreme Court judge, a journalist, members of the Oireachtas, all having the jolly at the Golf Society. You couldn't make it up, and then Miriam Gate, how Catherine Spoon looked for a job, and the tarnish, like, could you make it up? Really, could you make it up? And then RT, the state broadcast, having a nice party too. You couldn't, and it's happening every day of the week over here, and they couldn't give a fuck over here. The only time they ever care is when they get caught, which is very rarely. They're doing it every day of the week. Let's be fair, these politicians over here hold us in utter contempt. But in fairness to the Finnish Prime Minister, again, she didn't have to apologise. I see nothing wrong here. She did nothing wrong. And it makes a good point in what she said, and everything here makes sense. It doesn't seem like she's trying to wiggle herself out of this like they're doing in the UK at the moment, trying to wiggle themselves out of it, the situation they find themselves in. But basically, her foreign minister, she was at a cabinet meeting, and obviously her foreign minister tested positive for COVID, right? And that's that, right? You'd be like, that's okay. What has this got to do with her? So I explain. So basically, she was at a meeting with him. And obviously they find out later on he was tested positive, and obviously she knew about that bit, but she was doubled. She had the two things. Let's put it that way. And that she didn't have to quarantine or anything that because she had the two things, which in a way it makes sense. If you have your two yolks, you shouldn't have to quarantine or anything that. That's what was told to us in the beginning. And she was informed not to socialise. But she said she left the work phone home while she was out. So she basically went out clubbing, having a nightclub and things like that, having fun, clubbing in the early hours of the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and her Prime Minister, But I don't think she's done anything wrong. Like, again, she had 2 PCR tests. Eamon Ryan must have been around. Eamon Ryan must have involved in that. But she tested negative twice. So, that's the important thing. She tested negative twice. I don't see what's the problem here. She did nothing wrong. I know it's common, it's common decency just to apologise. Take, for example, if I bump into somebody in the street, I'd be like, my apologies, so... my apologies, I didn't mean to bump into you. That's just common decency, that's common decency, just apologising if you bump in. Again, mistakes happen, things like that. But, she did nothing wrong, and again, she didn't test positive for COVID or anything like that. So I see no problem. I don't know why when people are whinging about over here, they hold us in utter contempt. They went down and had a jolly. While the whole country was locked down. I don't think in Finland they have a lockdown as far as I know, but they're probably a lot more better than these crowd over here that just literally hold us in utter contempt. Like the same time Golfgate was going on, there was people being brought up for having house parties, people coming to their houses, an awful stuff happening, and I think that was around the time too, Golfgate, that the guards went into the church and that loan. Again, I can't remember exactly when that was, but I think it was not too far off that time when the guards barged into the church in that loan. When a few people were praying, it wasn't doing any harm, just having a pray. And the barged in, there was only a few people praying, and they went in and decided to go in. I don't know why they felt the need to go in. They were there doing no harm to anybody. But again, logic goes out the window, doesn't it? But again, I don't see the problem. Usually I'm always here, fuck these politicians, the cunts. But I don't see, and I do think it's well, and I think she makes a very good point. If she has her two yolks, she should be fine. It makes sense, it really does make sense. And again, I'm sure it's a mistake. I don't think she would lie about it, to be totally honest. That she left the work phone at home and didn't get the email that she had the whatever, etc., etc., etc. But at the end of the day, she did nothing wrong, as far as I know. She did nothing wrong. She didn't test positive, and I don't see what's the uproar about. Again, she's entitled, but yeah. So, again, compared to some of the politicians over here, and then what's happening over Westminster at the moment. Boris, literally, in December last year, when the whole UK wasn't allowed to go to anybody's houses and they're having a party, and people couldn't go in to see their dying loved ones in hospital to say their final goodbyes. Boris and the rest of the Tories were having a party in Downing Streets with cheese and wine. make what you want. Again, going out clubbing. And again, it wasn't a private nightclub in the general public. Like, again, imagine me home out and having to go out to the general public. With probably no guards or anybody around her, members of the public was probably there dancing with her in a nightclub. With the Prime Minister, as you do. Over here, me home out and I go one, and if you see me, you had to go and interact with people. Because people wouldn't want a bit of him in the nightclub. I think they probably would lock the doors and never let him out of the nightclub. Would that to be an idea? Would you look at? Who would let him in? Like, to be honest, you had to be very, very desperate to let him in. Like me whole Martin in, me whole Martin. But I don't think she done anything wrong. To be totally honest, I don't think she done anything wrong. I don't think she has to apologise, and I do think she's genuine. I'll be totally honest. I do think she's genuine. But I do, I do obviously see a lot of people do whinging about it and things like that. But again, compared to what that's happening in the UK, compared to these fuckers in this country, these politicians in this country, let's put it that way. It's just it's not that bad compared to when the wick the scale, I suppose. But again, maybe I'm just too much defending the Finnish Prime Minister. Might be wanting a number on leaked. Might want the number being said to me, but look at we say nothing until you hear more. But yeah, let me know what you think. I know it's an interesting thing to say, but I don't think she did anything wrong. If that was in Ireland here, I'd be fucking saying you should be arrested, and they should be arrested in Golf Gate. All of them went down for Johnny, and they broke every code they could make up. Like, and I wouldn't mind that day. They give us orders not to do things, and then they went off and broke every one of them. Like, it's just logic. It makes sense, doesn't it?